The military, as a genre and theme in entertainment media, is a rich and compelling storytelling device. From Saving Private Ryan to Hacksaw Ridge and Band of Brothers, it's a medium that resonates with audiences through its raw emotion, intense action, and exploration of human resilience. This brings us to anime, a medium that has masterfully embraced the military genre in countless ways. Anime, like all forms of entertainment, offers a treasure trove of titles across various genres, and the military is no exception. Whether it's blending isekai with military themes like Gate, mixing romance and combat like Full Metal Panic, or diving into space warfare and mechs with Gundam, anime has something for every kind of military enthusiast. There are even titles that explore the existential dread of war, the cost of lives lost, and the moral complexities of conflict. With that in mind, I thought, why not create a list of 10 military anime you can watch right now? But this isn't just any list, it's geared toward the classics of the genre. These are anime that place the military front and center, focusing on firefights, tactical strategies, the horrors of war, and the emotional toll it takes on those involved. Think less military as a backdrop and more military as the heartbeat of the story. So, without further ado, let's dive into it, shall we? Starting off the list is The Ambition of Oda Nobuna, the anime that asks, what if the Sengoku period was a dating sim and everyone's a girl? Meet Yoshiharu Sagara, a history nerd who gets isekai'd not to another world, but a gender-bent version of Japan's bloodiest era. Suddenly, Oda Nobunaga is Nobuna, a hot-headed daimyo with a sword bigger than her patience, and Yoshiharu's job is to help her conquer Japan using his high school history notes. It's like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but with more seppuku. The plot? Imagine your AP World History class if it were written by the Gintama crew. Yoshiharu's stuck between teaching Nobuna how to crush her enemies, spoiler, she already knows, and dodging marriage proposals from warlords who think alliance means let's get matching armor. The anime's got more betrayals than a season of Survivor, but every battle's interrupted by someone yelling, wait, aren't you my childhood friend? Military cred? The show geeks out on Sengoku-era tactics, sieges, troop movements, and political scheming, all filtered through Yoshiharu's, I've read the textbook, energy. Nobuna's rewriting history one sword swing at a time, while her rivals throw down like it's Total War Shogun 2. The military realism's solid until someone's cleavage distracts the camera. So what are its strengths? The gender swap take on history is fresh, Nobuna's a blast, mixing Nobunaga's ruthlessness with teen drama. The comedy's sharp, like when Yoshiharu explains the future and everyone's like, so, you're saying we'll have cars? But its weaknesses? The plot's about as focused as a cat in a laser pointer factory. One episode's a siege, the next's a hot spring episode where everyone forgets they're at war. Also, side characters get less development than a side quest in Assassin's Creed. So why is it number 10? Because it's the anime equivalent of a history textbook doodled in sparkly pen. Oda Nobuna is fun if you're into warlords plus waifus, but it's more Samurai Champloo than Braveheart. The military themes take a backseat to harem shenanigans, making it a palate cleanser after grittier titles. Still, if you've ever wanted to see Nobunaga reimagined as a tsundere with a katana, this is your jam. So, final verdict, watch it for the historical chaos and Nobuna's iconic scowl. Skip if you need your military anime to remember that wars are better than weddings. And remember, in feudal Japan, the only thing sharper than the swords is the dialogue. Alright, let's get grimdark. Number 9 is Gunslinger Girl, the anime that asks, what if Black Lagoon was directed by someone who hates sleep and human decency? Picture this, Italy but make it dystopian. The government's solution to political chaos? Turn orphan girls into brainwashed killing machines with more screws than a hardware store. Meet Henrietta, a cyborg assassin who's equal parts loyal puppy and sniper with a god complex. Her handler? A guy who's 50% father figure, 50% emotionally constipated babysitter. The plot? It's Dexter's laboratory if Dexter were a lobotomized 12-year-old with a machine gun. The Social Welfare Agency (READ), Legalized Child Endangerment Department, pairs handlers with cybernetic girls to eliminate threats. Think Mission Impossible, but everyone's morally bankrupt, and the IMF stands for Infantile Murder Foundation. Henrietta's arc? She's too busy asking, do I have a soul? To notice she's already dead inside. Military cred? The show's got more moral ambiguity than a philosophy class taught by a serial killer. Covert ops? We got it. Government conspiracies? We got that too. Girls with names like Rico and Clays who could disassemble a tank after they finish their tea. Yup, it's their alright. The military realism here is less tactical genius and more, how many ethics laws can we violate before the UN intervenes? So what are its strengths? The anime's obsessed with asking, what's the cost of survival? And answers with a metric ton of trauma. Henrietta's relationship with her handler is peak daddy issues. and the action scenes hit harder than a guilt trip from your therapist. But its weaknesses? The pacing slower than a sloth on Quaaludes, and the episodic mission of the week vibe makes the plot feel like a broken kaleidoscope. Also the fan service? It's like the show suddenly remembers, oh right, they're technically children, and immediately regrets it. So why is it number 9? Because Gunslinger Girl is the anime equivalent of a philosophy textbook written in blood. It's brilliant but brutal, perfect for viewers who want their military anime with a side of existential despair. If you're into feeling bad while watching 10-year-olds commit war crimes, this is your show. Just don't expect happy endings or functional tear ducts. So, final verdict, watch it for the moral quandaries and cybernetic angst. Skip if you prefer your anime to have a shred of hope. And remember, in the social welfare agency, care is just 3 letters away from scare. Alright, next up, High School Fleet, the anime that answers, what if Top Gun was directed by the Sailor Moon team? Picture this, a flooded future Japan where high school girls train to command warships and somehow still find time to survive trigonometry exams. Meet Makoto Kuroki, a transfer student who thought she'd be dodging pop quizzes, not torpedo salvos. Her school? A floating fortress where naval combat and club activities are equally likely to involve explosions. The plot? It's Dead Poets Society but with depth charges. The girls of Yokosuka Marine High juggle homework, crushes, and the occasional rival fleet trying to sink their ship. Imagine balancing midterms and missile defense. These kids don't sleep, they seize the day. The show's got more tonal whiplash than a submarine doing a U-turn. One episode they're polishing cannons, the next they're crying over cafeteria curry. Military cred? The series geeks out harder on naval tech than a history teacher with a model ship collection. You'll learn terms like gunnery protocols and navigation grids while watching girls yell, "Fire at will," at enemy vessels. The ships are animated with such loving detail, you'll forget they're piloted by teens who still need permission slips to go ashore. What are its strengths? The mix of military grit and school life fluff is weirdly addictive. Ship battles are thrilling, think Pacific Rim with more paperwork, and the girls' camaraderie is wholesome enough to make you forget they're essentially child soldiers. But its weaknesses? The pacing's like a rowboat in a storm. Action-packed episodes get torpedoed by filler about homework. Also, the fan service is so random, you'll wonder if the enemy's real plan is to distract everyone with beach volleyball. So why is it number 8? Because it's the anime equivalent of a sailor's knot, tightly wound in parts, frayed in others. High School Fleet is a fun ride if you're into warships plus waifus, but it's no Gundam. Still, if you've ever wanted to see a girl calculate torpedo trajectories while crying about her GPA, this is your show. So, final verdict, watch it for the naval porn and girlboss energy. Skip if you need your military anime to remember that warships are better than bake sales. And remember, in a flooded future, the only thing deeper than the ocean is these kids' existential dread. Alright, strap in, sailors. Number 7 is Kantai Collection, the anime that answers the question, what if World War II naval battles were fought by anime girls with names like Fubuki and Yamato, and also they have tea parties between missile strikes? Yeah, it's exactly as chaotic as it sounds. The premise? Humanity's oceans are overrun by the Abyssal Fleet, think the Abyss meets Transformers, and our only hope lies with the Kanmusu, anthropomorphic warships who somehow balance saying things like, "Captain, enemy torpedoes inbound," with, "Also, can I borrow your sunscreen?" Fubuki, our so-called protagonist, joins the Chinjafu fleet to fight these eldritch sea monsters, but let's be real, half the runtime is spent on her forgetting which side of the ship the anchor goes on. It's Pacific Rim if the Jaegers had anime hair and complained about rations. Military cred? Oh, it's packed. The show pulls straight from the Kantai Collection strategy game, so expect naval jargon so dense you'll need a submariner's license to keep up. The battles are legit formations, artillery volleys, and submarine tactics, all performed by girls who look like they'd rather be in a maid cafe. The military hierarchy is strict, the tech is grounded, well, as grounded as living warship gets, and the abyssals are scarier than your last DM's homebrew villain. So what are its strengths? The concept's a goldmine, Moe meets Midway. The shipgirl designs are fire, literally, some of them breathe flames, and the action scenes slap harder than a torpedo to the hull. Plus, the camaraderie is wholesome enough to make you forget they're technically weapons. But its weaknesses? The plot's about as cohesive as a sandcastle at high tide. Episodes veer wildly from OMG the Abyssals are here to let's play volleyball, then eat cake, then cry about our trauma. Also, the fan service is dialed up to maximum, because nothing screams military realism like a beach episode mid-war. Why is it number 7? Because it's the anime equivalent of gluing a teddy bear to a battleship. Kantai Collection is a wild ride if you're into strategy by day, sleepovers by night, but its ADHD pacing and tonal whiplash keep it from climbing higher. Still, if you can handle the absurdity of girls yelling fire torpedoes while wearing miniskirts, this is absolutely your jam. Final verdict: watch it for the naval tactics and shipgirl aesthetics. Skip if you need your military anime to remember that war is not a tea party. And remember, in the grimdark world of oceanic apocalypse, at least the abyssals don't have to worry about panty shots. Alright, let's dive into Strike Witches, the anime that answers the question, what if the Red Baron was a magical girl who fought space crystals in a skirt? Set in an alternate 1940s Europe, humanity's last hope against the Nuroi, basically sentient CGI blobs, is a squad of girls who shoot down aliens while somehow making no pants, no problem flight suits look like standard military issue. Meet Yoshika Miyafuji, a healer-turned-fighter who's more, I just want to pet my dog than I want to save the world. But hey, we're waits for no one's comfort. The plot? Imagine Top Gun directed by the Madoka Magica team. The 501st Joint Fighter Wing is equal parts Band of Brothers and Sailor Moon, with girls wielding magic rifles and rocket-powered brooms. They fight Nuroi, bond over curry, because anime, and occasionally remember they're in the middle of a war. Yoshika's arc is basically how to accidentally become a hero while trying to get snacks. The military vibe is there, strict hierarchies, tactical briefings, and planes that go vroom, but it's all wrapped in a magical girl package that says, yes, this is totally normal. How's its military cred? The show's got more gear porn than a World War II documentary. The planes are lovingly detailed, the aerial combat is genuinely thrilling, and the Nuroi are like if Independence Day aliens had a baby with Microsoft Paint. The Witch's military base has more rules than a middle school detention hall, and the geopolitical tensions feel ripped straight from history books, but with way more panty shots. What are its strengths? The action is fire, literally, there are a lot of explosions. The mix of heartfelt teamwork and absurd comedy lets fight aliens. Now let's go shopping, keeps things fresh. Yoshika's growth from I just wanna help people to I'm gonna nuke this Nuroi is oddly satisfying. But its weaknesses? The fan service is dialed up to 11. Imagine Saving Private Ryan, but every 10 minutes someone's like, surprise, time for a swimsuit episode. Also, the Nuroi's master plan seems to be exist and look cool, which raises the question, why? So why is it number 6? Because it's the anime equivalent of a crossover fanfic between Pearl Harbor and Pretty Cure. It's fun, it's chaotic, and it's got more estrogen than a Taylor Swift concert. If you can handle the tonal whiplash of dogfighting aliens followed by let's bake a cake, this is your show. Just don't overthink why the witches' uniforms are strategically missing legs. The final verdict: watch it for the aerial battles and girlboss energy. Skip it if you need your military anime to take itself seriously. And remember, in the grimdark timeline of 1940s Europe, at least everyone's thighs are warm. Next up is Alderamin on the Sky, the anime that asks, what if Code Geass's Lelouch was a cynical womanizer who'd rather be napping than overthrowing empires? Meet Ikta Salork, a guy who joins the military like it's a bad Tinder date. Swipe right on conscription, swipe left on responsibility. When his empire gets dragged into a war against Kyoka, Ikta finds himself reluctantly leading a squad of misfits, despite doing everything he can to avoid adulthood. Think Band of Brothers, but everyone's either strategizing or rolling their eyes at Ikta's shameless flirting. The plot? It's Game of Thrones written by someone who hates war but loves sarcastic protagonists. Ikta is constantly torn between, I could conquer this battlefield, and why am I surrounded by idiots? His squad includes Yatori, a sword-wielding tsundere who's 100% done with his antics, and Matthew, a prince who's just along for the free snacks. Together, they fight wars, navigate political backstabbing, and wonder why their lives are stuck in an endless loop of duty and drama. Military cred? Oh, it's got tactics on top of tactics. Ikta's plans are so sharp, he makes Attack on Titan's commanders look like toddlers fumbling with a risk board. The show dives into the nitty-gritty of war, supply lines, troop morale, and the horror soldiers face, like starving because their leaders forgot to pack granola bars. And then there are the Shin, supernatural spirits who serve as the anime's version of plot armor with existential dread. What are its strengths? Ikta is the ultimate chaotic neutral protagonist, a mix of brains, charm, and I'd rather be anywhere else energy. The anti-war message hits harder than a tank, and the political intrigue is so layered, you'll need a flowchart to keep up. But its weaknesses? The first few episodes are slower than a sloth on sedatives, and many side characters feel like NPCs you forgot to talk to in an RPG. Oh, and the fan service? It's like the show suddenly remembered, oh right, this is an anime, and threw in a beach episode for good measure. So why is it number 5? Because it's the military anime equivalent of a genius who never does his homework. Alderamin has all the pieces to be a masterpiece, a flawed protagonist, brutal war commentary, and a richly detailed world, but it trips over its own pacing and forgets to flesh out half its cast. Still, if you're into reluctant hero versus the world stories with more strategy than a chess grandmaster, this is your jam. Final verdict: watch it for Ikta's charisma and the tactical brilliance. Skip it if you need your anime to have a pulse in the first 3 episodes. And remember, even in a war zone, there's always time for a nap. Alright, let's talk about Valkyria Chronicles, the anime that's like if Band of Brothers got a watercolor filter and a philosophy degree. Picture this: a tiny neutral country named Gallia, caught between 2 superpowers and defended by a militia squad that's 50% tactical genius and 50% "why are we even here?" chaos. Leading the pack is Lieutenant Welkin, a guy who stares at butterflies mid-battle like he's auditioning for a Studio Ghibli film, and Alicia, a baker-turned-soldier who probably joined just to sneak bread puns into the script. The plot? It's war, but make it artsy. The anime juggles tank battles, trench warfare, and existential musings about the futility of conflict. So edgy. Squad 7's adventures feel like a mix of Saving Private Ryan and Animal Crossing. They argue about rations, lose friends, and occasionally remember they're fighting a war. The anti-war message is loud and clear. Every episode feels like a PSA reminding you that PTSD is bad actually. Military cred? Oh, it's got tanks, rifles, and enough tactical jargon to make a history teacher nod in approval. Since the show's based on a tactical RPG, battles unfold like a chess match. If chess had explosions and characters yelling, think of the children. And the watercolor visuals? Absolutely gorgeous. It's like war is painted by Monet, if Monet hated war and loved tragic backstories. What are its strengths? The art style is stunning. Each frame looks like it belongs in a museum exhibit. The squad dynamics are fun, even if half the cast gets less screen time than a background NPC. But its weaknesses? The pacing is all over the place. Glorious battle scenes 1 minute. Let's stare at flowers filler the next. And the side characters? They're about as fleshed out as stick figures. Why is it number 4? Because it's the anime equivalent of a museum gift shop, pretty to look at, but you kinda wish you'd played the game instead. It's a solid military story bogged down by its own ambition, like a tank stuck in mud. Still, if you're into morally gray war stories packed with more feels than a funeral, this is your jam. Final verdict: watch it for the aesthetic and the tank tactics. Skip it if you need characters with more depth than a puddle. And remember, war is hell, but at least the anime version has nice shading. Alright, let's get gritty. Number 3 is Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team, the anime that answers the question, what if Call of Duty had mechs, moral crises, and a protagonist who ships the enemy? Meet Shiro Amada, a Federation lieutenant dropped into the chaos of the One-Year War. Leading a ragtag squad against Zeon's forces, he's like the star of Band of Brothers, except everyone's piloting an 18-meter-tall death machine, and the stakes include accidentally falling for a Zeon pilot. The setup? Shiro's squad feels like the Gundam universe's answer to a PUBG team. Low resources, constant yelling about suppressing fire, and mobile suits getting torn apart faster than you can say beam saber. This show doesn't shy away from the brutal realities of war. You've got trench foot, malfunctioning gear, and soldiers questioning why they're even fighting in the first place. And then there's Shiro, who's too busy angsting over Aina, a Zeon pilot he keeps almost killing, but also can't stop making googly eyes at. It's Romeo and Juliet, but with more explosions and fewer tights. Military cred? This is war with no resets, no space magic, no new type nonsense, just grunts slogging through jungles, repairing broken down gun tanks, and realizing that victory often means everyone I know is dead. The mobile suit battles are as tactical as they are messy, with Shiro's squad pulling off maneuvers that'd make a company of heroes player proud. Strengths? The anti-war message hits harder than a Gundam's punch. Shiro's internal conflict, should I follow orders or save my squad? Feels ripped straight from a soldier's memoir. And the romance subplot? It's peak anime logic, you destroyed my base. Now let's hold hands. Weaknesses? The animation hasn't aged well, it's like someone tried to render mechs on a TI-84 calculator. And the side characters? They're about as fleshed out as a cardboard cutout, serving mostly as cannon fodder for the show's emotional beats. Why number 3? Because it's the Gundam entry that hates war but loves drama. Before Attack on Titan made soldiers question their purpose, Shiro was already having existential crises in his cockpit. It's the military anime equivalent of a war documentary, if that doc had giant robots and a tragic love story. Watch it for the mud, the mechs, and the moment you realize that love and war are both terrible ideas, but somehow still go hand in hand. Final verdict: if you can handle 90s mech animation and want a Gundam that's more Saving Private Ryan than Star Wars, this is your jam. Just don't blame me when you start shipping the enemy. Next up is Full Metal Panic, the anime that asks, what if a mercenary who screams terrorist at the sight of a toaster joined your school club. Meet Sasuke Sagara, a battle-hardened soldier whose idea of normal life involves strapping C4 to vending machines and interrogating his classmates about suspicious behavior. Spoiler, it's usually just lunch. The premise? Sasuke is tasked with protecting Kaname, a girl who seems normal but apparently has DNA that could be weaponized or something like that. Honestly, the plot feels like a mashup of 24 and Clueless. One minute they're defusing nukes, and the next they're stressing over math tests. Sasuke's attempts to blend into high school life are pure comedy gold. He treats PE class like SEAL training, mistakes school plays for hostage situations, and once blew up a curry shop because, well, the enemy must not enjoy spicy food. Does it have military cred? Absolutely. The show is packed with enough gear porn to make a Call of Duty streamer jealous. Real-world tech? Check. Covert ops? Check. A mecha named Arbalest that's basically a Gundam with daddy issues? Double check. The tactical jargon flies so thick you'd think you were watching a marine training video until Sasuke escorts Kaname to the mall like it's a scene straight out of Black Hawk Down. What are its strengths? The chaos works because Sasuke's deadpan absurdity is perfectly balanced by Kaname's exasperated "I didn't sign up for this" attitude. Their dynamic is like if John Wick dated Hermione Granger, equal parts action and eye rolls. And the action scenes? They slap. Think Mission Impossible stunts, but animated in 2002, which means gloriously janky CGI explosions that somehow still hit hard. Weaknesses? The pacing can be all over the place. One episode you're in the middle of an epic submarine battle, and the next you're stuck with filler about hot springs. Plus, Sasuke's approach to romance, "I'm sorry for almost killing you, here's a love letter," hasn't aged particularly well. Why does it rank number 2? Because it's the OG genre blender. Before Gate or Drifters, Full Metal Panic proved you could mix mech battles with rom-com tropes and still have a hit. Sasuke's journey from shoot first, ask later to I think I have feelings or maybe PTSD is weirdly wholesome. If you can handle early 2000s cheese and a protagonist who'd probably stab you for offering him pizza, this is absolutely your jam. Final verdict, watch it for the memes. Stay for the moment when Kaname finally snaps and whacks Sasuke with a textbook, you'll cheer. Finally on this list is Girls on Panzer, the anime that proves warfare is better with skirts and squeaky voices. Picture this, a world where high school girls settle debates not with words, but by strapping into World War II-era tanks and duking it out like it's Mario Kart, only with more historical accuracy and fewer blue shells. Enter Miho Nishizumi, our reluctant girl boss protagonist, who transfers to Oirai Girls High, a school so desperate to stay open that they've literally armor-plated their budget cuts. Her mission? Revive the school's tankery team, confront her tank-obsessed family, and somehow make driving a Panzer sound as cute as humanly possible. The vibe? Think Sailor Moon meets Saving Private Ryan, if Ryan were a girl yelling bonsai while reloading. The show delivers tactical combat so precise that history buffs will nerd out harder than at a Renaissance fair. But don't worry, it's not all diesel fumes and logistics. There are also beach episodes where the team reenacts Top Gun volleyball scenes, except, you know, with more tank treads. Priorities, people. Its strengths? The tank battles are a symphony of explosions, teamwork, and character arcs that'll have you rooting for the "I just want to graduate" girl who evolves into a tactical genius right before your eyes. And let's not forget the theme song, Dreamriser. It slaps harder than a Tiger One doing a drift. So what are its weaknesses? If you're not into tank specs, dialogue like "hold down position, AP rounds" might sound less like military strategy and more like robot sex noises. Oh, and the fan service? Let's just say the only thing more polished than their tank armor is the lighting in those beach episodes. But here's why it's number 1. Girls on Panzer turns military strategy into a sport so wholesome, even your grandma will ask, "Why aren't your hobbies this cool?" It's a cult classic for a reason. 10 out of 10 historians agree, this is the anime that made tank clubs a lifestyle. Final verdict? Watch it, then join the fandom, then question all your life choices. You're welcome. Alright folks, that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, it really helps out. And if you want to see more content like this, why not subscribe and hit the bell icon? That way, you'll be the first to know when I drop another video. Also, if you have any recommendations for military anime, let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for new suggestions. Who knows, maybe we'll make a part 2 based on your input. With all that said, I hope you found this video enjoyable and helpful. Thanks again for watching and I hope you have an awesome day. See you next time.